So what you heard today from Bob was how to be more influential, how to raise your influence and be more persuasive. And many of his stories and techniques would work great in the real world, because the stories he told you about having to upgrade his plane ticket, or the person who runs the bridal salon in San Antonio, these were real life stories of people engaging with people offline. Well, I wanted to complement what Bob talked about in a meaningful way, so I thought, how about how to be more influential online? And that would also complement what Elise presented on. So some of my material will actually overlap with Elise's, whereas other material will amplify and enhance what Elise said. This context is primarily about becoming influential. It is not necessarily about how to get started with Facebook or how to be better with the new LinkedIn tools. It's really not about that. It's purely about how can we be online and have influence. So I'm sharing with you today a process that I've built that you can follow to have more influence online. Because if we don't have more influence online, then the 70-20-10 rule falls apart. It falls apart because when you use the 20, nothing happens. And the 20, to recap, the 70% is give, the 20% is ask for something that will benefit you, that will hopefully also benefit the other person, right? There has to be the give and take. And then the 10% was just being yourself, just being fun. I like to call it pseudo personal. Pseudo personal. It's not super personal, it's kind of personal, personal professional, such as, I just had my 4th anniversary of my business. That's personal and professional at the same time, and people get excited about that. And you get lots of likes and comments, so when you're pseudo personal. So my 10% is pseudo personal, not super personal. I just had a fight with my wife. I don't yeah, press like if you agree. Right? Yeah, it's never that person. Right? And she's on Facebook, so it just doesn't, that wouldn't be a good post.
You want to be let back in.
Right, yeah. Let back in, right. Isn't that funny coming from a wife? If you want to be let back in, because I had to post that from my smartphone out in the parking lot. Yeah. Good one, Rose. All right.
Press like.
Yeah, press like. No, I'm not going to press like on that, actually. Right. So, first, my history. My history with social media. I started the business 4 years ago. When I started the business, I was hardly using social media at all. I used to work as a marketing director at Oracle. And when I worked at Oracle, I didn't really believe in Facebook. I didn't really believe in Twitter. I don't know that Twitter really even existed through most of my time at Oracle. LinkedIn was the primary social network for professionals. And people would invite me to be on LinkedIn, and I would say, why? Why would I be on LinkedIn? I'm not looking for a job, and I don't want to be recruited. I thought that was purely what LinkedIn was for. As a corporate worker, I just thought it's just for people who are looking for jobs. You put your resume online, and that's how you can connect with people, and then recruiters can find you, and I didn't want any of that. After I left and started my own business, I realized, oh, there's more to LinkedIn than just finding a job. You can find referral partners, you can find customers, you can find prospects, you can find all kinds of people to connect with on LinkedIn. So it made more sense to me after I left and started my own business. But then I realized, well, it's one thing to understand that social media, it's another thing to actually leverage it in a way that you can wield influence. Bob is a master of wielding influence in social media, and I'm going to give you some examples directly from Bob on social media today. So, I've been using social media now for about 4 years. I told you when I started. And I use LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, primarily. There are some other social networks such as Google+, Pinterest. I have a modest presence on those other social networks, primarily because I like to teach about social media, and people ask questions about the other social networks, and if I don't have any presence or understanding, that's an awkward moment. I try to avoid awkward moments when I'm in front. So I do, ever since that night in Tokyo. So I do try to have the answers about other social media. All right, so those are the networks that I use, and I'm on them almost every day. So almost every day I'm on all the social networks, except for YouTube. YouTube is primarily a place where I have lots of videos, and I take those videos and share them in other social media, and people also go there to watch more than one video. And so that's primarily my presence. I don't really have time to be social on YouTube and the other social networks. There is a limit, right? At some point you realize, okay, I have to stop and focus on real world people. So I do go to Starbucks. I go to real Starbucks more than I go to Starbucks' Facebook page. Okay, so what do we want from our investment in social media? Well, first and foremost, people say, well, I want sales. I want to make more sales by using social media. Sure, I understand that. But after that, we want that engagement, which is likes, shares, mentions. Those are the kinds of actions that we want in social media that then hopefully lead to someone saying, where is that cookie place located? I want some of that. Right? It has to start with likes, shares, mentions first, comments that we then respond to. Without that, then the sales don't happen. So we might put sales first in the list, but that's actually not the right place for it on the list. It should actually be at the bottom of the list. So it's interesting how that might be the first thing that comes to mind, but it shouldn't be. It should be the last thing that comes to mind, if we really want it. Right? Have you ever heard that? If you love someone, let them go. Well, if you want to make a sale, let it go. And then that sale will come to you. Right? But don't push too hard on that. So how can we get all this done? Well, that's what we're about today. Right? I'm going to share with you this formula. So this is the way not to do it. So I was talking to a realtor this morning about this afternoon's presentation, and she is not online. And she said, am I going to have to be personal on Facebook? Because right now, this is her on Facebook. Okay? This is her on Facebook. She's not even on Facebook, so this is her online. I think all she has is a website. I think all she has is a website. So she's saying, I don't want to be personal. If I'm on Facebook, do I have to be personal? Well, yes. But I teach people how to be pseudo-personal, right? Pseudo-personal, which works great in social media. We don't get too intimate. When someone says in social media, "Oh, I just lost my job," well, that's hard. You know, that's hard for us to deal with because Facebook is a happy place, right? One thing that you may have realized about social media, if you're not on social media, then this is something that will actually delight you, is that social media is a happy place. Most people on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, they're sharing the good moments. They're sharing the good things. And I think that's one reason why Facebook is so darn popular, because the world outside is so darn negative. We need a happy place that we can go to and learn about all the good things that aren't necessarily reported about on the radio or on the television. I think that's another reason why Oprah's show was so popular, because it was a happy place that we could go to. We knew that at least in this hour, we were going to get something that was going to lift us up and inspire us. That's what Facebook is. That's what social media is. I think that's one reason why social media is so popular, is because it's primarily a happy place. So when we share things like, oh, I just lost my job, it's kind of incongruous. Doesn't work so well in social media. It's not that you're not going to get sympathy and people are going to talk to you about it, but it seems not the place to have something that heavy. Okay? So that's why I like the pseudo-personal. That was where I started with this, right? That's really personal. That's not pseudo-personal. That's really personal. Okay? All right, so you're also not going to do it this way. This way is, I have a network, but I'm not connecting with them. I'm still thinking about me. I'm still thinking about me. This is a lot of people in social media. They are on there, and they have people around them, but they're still thinking about themselves. And this is not a way to be influential. If you want to be influential online, you can't just connect with a lot of people. It goes far beyond that. Far beyond that. It's not difficult, but it goes far beyond that. This is the way. This is the way. See, there's a big difference between this and this. She's saying, what could I say? What could I say in social media? I call that social media writer's block, where you sit in front of the computer and say, oh, I don't know what to post today. Right? I'm not sure what to post today. Whereas here, she's saying, I wonder who I could engage with online today. It's a whole nother mindset, because there is a lot of content online that you can simply engage with. One thing that I think is missing in some social media presentations is the fact that it's not about you. That's the title of Bob's latest book. It's not about you. It is about your network, and when you start thinking about that, then everything becomes easier. So the old phrase, WIIFM, who knows what that stands for? Everyone's favorite radio station, WIIFM?
What's that?
What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? You got it right. What's in it for me? I like WIIFMN. What's in it for my network? What's in it for my network? When you start thinking that way, like she is, then you realize, it's not so hard to offer value because I'm already thinking about them, right? So it's true that most of us wear different size shoes, but we can still connect with other people and put ourselves in their shoes for a moment. We're not going to walk around in them for a long time, but for a moment, we can put them on. Sometimes my kids put on my shoes and laugh and walk around a little bit. I don't let them go down the stairs or up the stairs. They just walk around on the flat surface a little bit, have a good time, then they take them off. But for a moment, they felt like daddy. Right? When we put on someone else's shoes for a moment, we feel like that. And that's what you do if you want to be more influential online, and start thinking that way. So the reality is that it's not about the technology. It's not about the technology. Yes, it matters that we have a smartphone. It matters that we have an iPad or some other type of tablet. It matters that we have a device that makes posting online simple. When I mentioned the realtor is not really online right now, but she does carry an iPad. She was using it. And I said, well, if you have an iPad, you have a very simple device to post online. You can carry it around. It can be connected all the time with either a portable device or a cellular connection built into the tablet. And so you can be more social if you want to. You don't have to be sitting in front of a computer connected to the internet. You can have a mobile device. Many of us carry smartphones. So we already have the technology. That's not the hard part. The hard part is up here, wrapping our mind around doing it consistently and regularly, which is part of the process. Okay, so don't get all hung up on the technology because it's actually not nearly as difficult as you might think. It's really about the people that are already online. The people that are already online are our business club associates, are our fellow church members, are the people that go to the same referral meeting that we go to, our neighbors in our office complex, our customers, the prospects that we haven't done business with yet, but we're hoping to. A lot of those people are online. So they're already there. The technology is already in place. The only thing missing is you. So here's an interesting thing about all those people online. They are looking for leadership. They're looking for leadership. Many of the people online are wandering around just like a lot of the people in the real world are wandering around. So they want leadership online. One thing that Bob Berg mentioned is, if you want to show people that you have character, then stand for something. Stand for something. Don't be one of those people who doesn't want to say who you're going to vote for because you're afraid to debate with somebody about it or defend why you're going to vote for this person or that person. Or don't be one of those people who doesn't want to say that, I believe that business should be done this way, or that I don't agree with that. Bob Berg gave you an example of a person who used to run a bank who resigned from the bank because he felt that the bank was going in the wrong direction. He stood for something. Leaders always take a stand. If they don't stand for something, then people don't know who they're following. So it is important, if you want to have influence online, to understand that people are looking for leaders. But if you want to be a leader, then you should be clear, what is it that you stand for? So that people can identify with that and follow. The definition here says the act of heading or directing a group of people. Yes, Cesar.
Not everybody is a leader, but everybody, if they want to, they can be a connector, which is almost as powerful too in itself.
Mm-hmm. So the comment is, not everyone is a leader, but everyone can be a connector, which can be just as powerful. It's true. There are other positions that you can take online. And so if you don't want to be the leader, then you can be the connector. And being a connector can also put you into an influential position. One of the reasons we build up large networks on LinkedIn is the ability to connect people together within our social network on LinkedIn, and that's powerful. But that's also taking a leadership position because you have to take the initiative as a connector to say, I think you and you should meet. I think you two by meeting are going to develop something good together, right? So in a way, that's still taking a leadership position because leaders take the initiative. They're the ones that actually take action. Just like the lady who introduced my wife to me was a matchmaker. She pushed my wife and I to date. If she hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have dated. I mean, I can tell you that absolutely as a fact. I had no intention of dating my wife in the program that we were both in together. I knew her, I liked her, I respected her, but I had no interest in dating her until the matchmaker put the idea in my head and put it in her head at the same time. Right? And then things went from there. So she took a leadership position in our lives by being a connector, and look what happened. She ended up getting a front row seat at our wedding. And a nice dinner at the Mandarin in San Francisco, which unfortunately is now out of business. Okay, so that's the good news. You know, people are looking for a leader. They're looking for leaders online. But you can't be a leader online if you don't have some kind of plan. If you don't have some kind of plan, some kind of process. So what I don't want you to do is go online and just willy-nilly just start kind of figuring it out. I like people to be more effective, faster. That's what coaching is about, is accelerating growth and progress. That's why I teach formulas, processes, best practices, because I want people to understand that if you do this, your chances of success are greater. Your chances of being influential are greater. So it's not like this is the hard and fast formula, this is the only way to do it and there is no other way. This is just a way that I suggest. So my strategy is the process that I'm going to share with you. Step one, I think you should have great content. I think this is the first step because we have to have something to say. If we don't have something to say, we run out of things to say fairly quickly. And today, content marketing is crucial and important and is proving to be very successful for lots and lots of businesses. So I want to just give a couple of quick examples. So Rose here runs a business called Decorating Den. Decorating Den helps people to feel better about the interiors of their homes. She'll consult with you to refresh your entire home. One room, every room. Even up to and including remodels. If your refresh of your home includes new kitchen, new cabinets, she will help you get that project done. Okay? So Rose has that expertise after many years in business. She has content about why would you choose one type of cabinetry over another? What does Rococo really mean? And does that still have a place in interior design today? Sure, maybe. Would it fit in this type of house or this type of house? No. She might have something to say about that. What colors are in this year in terms of home furnishing rather than fashion? Right? I think home furnishings have their own style, fashions, and trends. Rose can comment on that. She can write about that. So she has content that she can share. Dave DeSchmidt runs a business called Banner Printing. Banner Printing has many, many products and services that they offer. One service that I've taken advantage of is getting checks printed for my business. Through that process, Dave explained to me that you might not want to have checks printed the old-fashioned way with your business name on it and address and phone number and everything. That's kind of where my head was at. He said you could also use laser checks. Checks that would be integrated with your QuickBooks. You would write the check and then it would print through your printer on special paper. Well, there was a little bit of a learning curve for me in that, and so I didn't go that way, but he educated me as to why that might be good. Why that might be good is because it's integrated right in with my accounting system. Ooh, this one's...
It's on.
It's on. It's on. Okay. It's all right. Can I be? Okay. So it's integrated with my accounting system, so that I don't have to write the check and then put it into the QuickBooks. Does that make sense? Right. So, well, I was already kind of committed to the old way, so I said, well, thank you very much, Dave, for trying to modernize me, which is funny, right? I mean, Dave's trying to modernize me. You know, I'm the social media guy, and I still want printed checks. Right? So I did end up going with the printed checks, but I think next time, because of that education and understanding that Dave shared with me, I'll probably go the other way. Thanks, Dave. Dave just clicked like. And a few people saw that. See? Right, that's engagement. All right. So Dave could talk about making decisions for your business related to printing. Why would you do this over another? That's a blog post right there. Right? So we all have expertise and content that we can share. Cesar Plata with everycircle.com. Cesar has a wealth of networking tips. He will give you a piece of paper that has networking tips built right on it about how to be a smarter and more effective networker. When you meet someone at a networking event, you don't say the first thing, what do? Cesar does not recommend that. And for good reason, because that's not how conversations are started. Right? That's kind of an awkward conversation. So there are many other ways to be more effective as a networker that Cesar shares in print and online. He has content that helps people. Right? So we all have expertise that we can share. Lori from Assam, been in the flower business for many years. You probably know more about flowers than almost all of us combined. You know more about flowers than I'll ever learn in my lifetime. You have content that you can share about why you would choose this flower over another, which flowers last longer than others, which ones ship better, last better in the mail. I mean, I've ordered some flowers that did really poorly in the mail, whereas others have stood up and held up pretty well. Right? But that was more a try it and see, as opposed to if you had content, I could learn and not make the mistake first. Right? That's what content is all about, helping people to learn, get benefits before they've ever done business with us. Cesar?
But if you're going to start a blog, it's because you're going to continue it, because there's some blogs out there, they write once or twice and then they die off and then people think you're out of business.
Good point.
Personally, I mean, thank you for the plug, but I mean, what I share about networking is very simple and straightforward. That might fit one or two blogs and then that's it. I mean, there really isn't much more to it. I'd rather promote other people. Hey, I found this article or this or that. Be the connector instead of, not all of us are writers.
Sure. So the point here is that if you don't have a wealth of your own content to write about, then you can share other people's content. So that great content, it might not be yours. It might be someone else's great content that you filter. The world today is dealing with information overload. We need filters to help us to find the best information out of that vast cornucopia of information online. So we have aggregators who take that information overload and filter it down and share with us the best. So there is a role for that. There is a role for aggregators online who share other people's great content. I like the combination, which is creating some of my own good content and sharing other people's good content. That's my favorite, because I can't provide enough content. Just as Cesar pointed out, well, not all of us are writers, not all of us can spend time writing content a lot of the time. I can. I provide some good content some of the time, and other times I provide other people's good content. Rose, did you have a question?
Actually, it was a comment. It's also just choosing one or two methods and then kind of linking them together, because I don't really want to go on Twitter and then make blog and then Facebook and then this and then that, then my constant contact. Then it becomes this daunting week worth of work where you might be able to put one thing on and then connect everything together so that everything is activated, but there's just one piece of information that keeps going around rather than consumed with Twitter and then going on Facebook every 15 minutes and then answering emails, and they'll never get any work done. So if it's, if you have one good page of content, it can be distributed to the other methods of getting that message across.
Well, it's really a great point. I have a newsletter that I put out once a month, and you can sign up for that through my website. But that newsletter, when it comes out, it has several articles in it. What I do is then share that newsletter through my Facebook page, and I share it on my LinkedIn, and I share it on Twitter. And then I have a person who liked one of the articles and is going to take that article out which I'm going to update because it was a time-based article, so I'm going to update it, and then they're going to put it on their blog as a guest post. So now out of this one newsletter, I'm getting a guest post, I'm getting multiple posts on other social media, and I'm reaching the people that are on my mailing list. So I'm repurposing the content that I have to get the most out of it. In a way, I'm wringing the value out of that content, right? Because we only have so much time to create content. So when we do create content, let's follow Rose's tip and wring the value out of that and get that around, right? You want to do more with it. Okay, last comment on this one.
You know, at the end of the day, you want to get that phone to ring and pick up the phone. I've noticed too, a lot of people, even some websites, you want to get a hold of somebody, you have to fill out a form. And it's like people, they don't want to talk to you. It's like, don't call me, text me. And even on email, sometimes people don't even put their phone numbers or a way to contact them. And it's like all this work, and then it's like, I can't get a hold of you, click. I won't bother, you know. Any thoughts on that?
I do actually. There are a couple thoughts on that. I did a presentation, it already seems like a couple years ago now, that we should engage with people the way that they want to be engaged with. Just because you like talking on the phone, the other person might not. You know, my father's hard of hearing, so he doesn't like talking on the phone. I had a client that wore a hearing aid. She wasn't very old, but she wore a hearing aid, and she would find that when she talked to people on the phone, oftentimes she couldn't hear everything. And that made the other person irritated because she'd say, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I didn't get that, could you say that again? And the other person was thinking like, what, are you deaf? Well, actually she was deaf. And so there are people that prefer other mediums of communication, and it's not always because they're shy or they don't have the time to talk with you on the phone. I know one person who, he does prefer text. He's my client and he prefers text. And so I connect with him through text. He said, I actually don't spend a lot of time on email. I don't spend a lot of time on email. He works at a large corporation during the day, he's very busy. And so if I try to catch him on the phone, chances are he's not going to be able to talk to me when I call. So I love the phone. I personally spend 2,000 to 3,000 minutes a month on the phone. So there's nobody more sold on the phone than me, but I have encountered people who aren't as sold on the phone as me for various reasons. So I feel like if someone says, don't connect with me on the phone, that's fine. I'll connect with you how you want to be connected with. As long as you have some medium. If it's email, then please be responsive, right? If it's text, be responsive that way, right? Yeah, however it is. Some people still like snail mail. And it's just the way some people still like to be communicated with. There are companies that say, would you like email from us, phone calls from us, or snail mail from us? I often choose the snail mail because I actually don't want more email, and I don't know when they're going to call. It'll probably be at a bad time, so I actually choose the snail mail, and then I will call you. And as Cesar points out, if I do call, I want you to answer. Right? I do want you to answer, and I would like to know what your phone number is. It irritates me a little bit that Facebook doesn't have a phone number. Actually, it irritates me a lot that Facebook doesn't have a phone number. Yeah. But it's free, right? It always will be. Okay, well, charge a little and have a phone line, will you? Yeah. Right.
It's quite important because I was trying to do business with a vendor, and the whole page and all this information, nowhere I find the contact information or a phone. Message phone. And it was just like crazy that I couldn't call. I had a question and I didn't want it by email. I wanted to get on the phone and say, I have your page here, I'm ready to place the order, but this is what I need to know.
Right.
And so it took me 20 minutes, never got through it, logged out, went into another vendor and got it there.
There you go. Right. You want to be available the way people want you to be available. Yeah, it is important. All right, so I put blog post up here, but I also want you to consider that the content could be offline. It could be a public seminar that's recorded on video and then presented as video online. So this video will be either presented in its entirety or cut up into meaningful sound bites, so to speak, and presented online. Right? So that great content, it might not exist in written form, it might actually be in video form. So if you like to present to groups, make that your great content. Okay, so step 2 is build a base online. If you have some content, then you need a group to get it to. If you don't have a large group, well, you're not going to be that influential online. You need to have what's called a platform. A platform is a group of people that follow you. They know you, they like you, and they probably trust you too. And they're following you. So you build that base online using social media, using email marketing. Or traffic to your website. You might say, don't want to do the whole social media thing, but I do want to be online. Well, then have a website with content that's search engine optimized that brings people to your website. And your content could exist on your website. If you don't want to do social media, don't. Put that fresh content on your website, though. You need to have videos, articles, blog posts, because if your website isn't refreshed on a regular basis, the search engines don't like it nearly as much. The search engines love going back to websites that are refreshed because it gives them something new to index. Their job is to index content online and present the latest, freshest, most relevant content to people who are searching online. So here's your answer if you don't like social media, right? You should still do step 1. Step 2 is build a base online. Step 3 is then share that great content. Share that great content. So the examples that I have for you here is 7 powerful headline writing tips, which I told you I don't always create the content myself. Sometimes I share other people's content. So this one says, do you publish your own content? If so, then you need to write great headlines. Here's a keeper resource for you from the Wibbia blog. Right? So I even give credit to Wibbia. Wibbia provides an online marketing tool that you can connect with your website. I read the article, I thought it was good, and so I shared it. I do recommend that you read the content that you share. If you're going to share other people's content, make sure it's good first. And sometimes the headline will fool you. The headline's awesome, the story is the pits. Right? So read the story first before you put your name, because now this is my name and face connected with this content. Even though I didn't write it, if people follow that link and read it and say, gee, that was a waste of 10 minutes of my time, and I do that again and again, you think people are going to keep clicking on my links? No. So if you are going to share other people's content, make sure it's good. And there's so much good content out there, you don't need to share rubbish. There are a lot of people sharing very good content online. Okay, so that's on the right. On the left is taken from Bob Berg on LinkedIn, and Bob does interviews with people. So he's leading the interview, which puts him in the driver's seat of the interview, so you hear him, but you also hear another expert. So you're learning from 2 people at the same time. The interchange between 2 smart people is oftentimes even more rewarding and invigorating than just hearing one person. So you've got Bob and Mike Henry Sr. in this one, and then in this case, Bob is sharing a video from a gentleman that said, why I paid $80 for a cup of coffee. That sounds interesting. I thought $5 was a lot for a cup of coffee. So I kind of like to see, why did he pay $80, right? So Bob shares other people's great content. Okay, so that's step number 3. Step number 4, which takes me back to a presentation given just a little while ago. Engage, and then engage, and then engage, right? Because we're trying to build influence online. The only way to build influence online is to connect with people. It's hard to connect with people without really getting right in there and talking to them. So in this example, taken from Bob's Twitter stream, right here he says, huge shout out to and follow suggestion of Lisa Alvey. Her social media coordination for FPU Forum was amazing, which I think was the event that he went to in Fresno recently. And so he has influence in his network, and he just edified, in his words, one person in his network. Because he's built up influence, when he engages like that, people take notice. After that, he thanks someone who in Fresno who had said something nice about him, and then he engages with this person here. My pleasure, Kyle. Randy Gage's new book is terrific. I believe you're going to love it. Right? Bob is constantly promoting other people and engaging with people. This isn't 4 snapshots. This is 1 snapshot. And in all 4 of these tweets that were done on October 24th, just a couple days ago, in each one, he's engaging with somebody, promoting somebody, engaging with somebody, thanking somebody. Remember one of my early slides when it showed the 2 ladies and their networks, and one was scratching her head thinking, what am I going to post? And the other person was thinking about WIIFMN. This is WIIFMN in practice. Bob is always thinking about what's in it for my network. And because he's always thinking that way, he's constantly engaging, and because he's constantly engaging, people are constantly engaging back. Right? Just like if someone comes up to a party and says, "Hi, my name is Elise, what's yours?" Well, you're going to engage back. But for some reason online, people leave that step out. They're thinking that this is a new channel for me to promote myself and my services, my products, and they leave out the step 4. Engage, engage, engage. And one of the reasons, the primary reason why they leave it out is because of time. They think they don't have time. Because if I engage, doesn't that double the amount of time I have to invest in social media? Well, actually, my friends, it's probably more like triple or quadruple. So big collective sigh. But if you want to be more influential online, without the engagement, it's just about impossible. It is very, very difficult to be influential if you're not willing to engage on a regular basis with a lot of people. Because otherwise, those people don't really know you exist. If all you're doing is just talking about yourself, that's very easy to tune out. Isn't that why TiVo is so popular? Because those commercials are talking about themselves. Right? And so we just tune those commercials out. That's why on the radio, you have to hear it again and again and again. Because while we're driving and the commercials are on, la 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 la, la, oh, the news is back on. Right? And then our focus shifts back to the radio, right? So they have to play it again and again and again. Well, if that's what you're doing online, then you do have to play your commercial again and again and again because people are tuning it out. Right? But if you do the engage, engage, engage part, people don't tune it out when you talk about yourself. They actually respect it and appreciate it because when we like people, we want to know what they're about. So step 5, keep it going. Keep it going. Because consistency is what it's all about. It doesn't happen in short bursts, then long pauses. It actually happens in short bursts, short bursts, short bursts. Occasional pause. Last Saturday was my birthday. It was the first day in a long time that I turned off the computer and left it off all day. That was my birthday present to myself. Right? I'm going to engage with the virtual world not. I'm going to be the real world today with my family, and we just went out and had a great time. Right? And then the next day, I was like, okay, I turned it off. Sure, but I got right back to it, right? This is what I mean. Occasional pause, but then you keep at it. Because if you want to be influential, you've got to keep at it. It doesn't just happen in a short burst. This process is a long, drawn-out process. It takes time. But the good news is it's a lot faster than it used to be. Pre-social media, where we had to be interviewed by the press, interviewed by magazines, appear on the radio, TV, building that kind of influence, that was difficult. That was hard. If you think social media is hard, you should try it the old way. That was hard, and only a few people ever got that. The old way, we would have never heard of Psy from South Korea doing Gangnam Style. We would have never heard it the old way. The new way, we found out about it so fast, and it spread like crazy. Right? Because the new way is so much faster. So yes, it's still a process that takes time, but it's accelerated versus the old world. So that's the good news and the bad news wrapped up in one. All right, step 6. So you've done the first few steps, and now it's time to draw from your account. Now it's time to wield your influence and ask your network to do something for you. So in this example, Bob Berg says on Twitter, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, I hope you can join us for tomorrow's event on influence and success. And he has a link to the event page. Some of you might be familiar with the event that he was promoting. This tweet was retweeted 3 times. And that was done by yours truly on the left. If I actually put my jacket on, I could replicate the pose for you right now, actually. Yeah. And then 2 other people. I don't know who the 2 other people are, but those 2 other people might have thousands of followers online. And I heard a story where someone did share something that Bob posted, and then someone else found out about it and ended up coming to the event. So does this stuff work? Absolutely it works. It does work when you follow the process and you gain some influence. Because without the influence, the tweet goes out and just lands to the ground with a thud. There is no sharing of it. It doesn't go out to any more people than are in your network. But when you give, engage, 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 and you build up that bank account, then you can draw the interest, right? Because it's first you have to invest before you get the interest. So this is the interest that Bob was able to draw from his account, and you'll be able to draw if you follow these steps. So if you do this across your network, then you get Clout. So this is a picture of an online tool called Clout, spelled with a K. Clout's whole reason for being is to give you a score. They give you a score from 0 to 100 about what is your measure of social media influence. So I know that many of you have never heard of Clout. And the reason is because Clout is mostly known by people who spend a lot of time online, who actually care about these things. Right? There are people that are obsessed with their Clout scores. Right or wrong, they are. Whether Clout is the definitive resource for how influential you are online is debatable. Whether they're onto something is not debatable, because they have an algorithm, they rate a lot of people, and most of the people that they rate high do have social influence. You can see it, because when they share, it's shared again. People reply. So you can see it in action. So it's not just this random assignment of scores. So my score happens to be 54, which out of 100, that sounds like an F. I know that sounds like an F. However, an F on Clout is more like 20. It's more like 20 or 30. It gets infinitely more difficult to rise up once you get to 50. So just getting from 54 to 55, it's actually quite difficult. So 40, you're starting to really wield some influence online. Once you get up to 80, you're unbelievable. Right? I think Bob was at 63. So it's a lot of work. But there is a way to test it. There is a way to test it. Are you influential? This is a third-party tool that you can sign up for, connect your social networks with, so that you can see, is what I'm doing resonating with a third-party neutral service? Do they see me as having influence? At least you have some way of knowing, right? Because we like to have a battery tester to see if that battery still, has that battery still got some juice in it? Well, this is your battery tester for your influence in social media. So I wanted you to know about that. So I don't obsess about the score, but I do pay attention to it. I do look at it. And darn, it is hard to get to 55. I got to 55 for a moment in time, and then somehow I did something wrong and got thrown back to 54. Okay, so let me boil it down to a really simple formula, just in case all those steps, you didn't get all the notes down or everything, you say, oh, I hope he's going to share that video. Well, let me just share it super simple for you, okay? Here's the formula. Give, get. Give, get. Repeat, right? And what you give should have value. It should be good. It should be shareable. It should be something that when they read it, when they watch it, when they listen to it, they say, this was a good use of my time. I spent this time wisely and I learned something from someone who has expertise that I don't have. Whether it's your content or someone else's content, they receive a benefit from it. And the give comes before the getting. And when you do that consistently, and you follow that process, you will see that slowly but surely, over time, you will build influence online. And you will then be able to do things online that you're already able to do in the real world, which is to get people's attention and keep it. That's what we want. And this is a simple process. So now, if you have questions about this process or anything that I've covered, now's a good time. Or if you already asked me along the way.
I have a question. For those that have a personal Facebook page and have not created a business Facebook page, how would you recommend going about that? And especially when your personal Facebook page is very personal and you want to keep that separate, And then the last question concerning that topic is how would you integrate or leverage those people you know personally and have them migrate or at least be exposed to your business Facebook page?
Sure, okay, I think I can answer that. Right. First thing is, you mentioned that your Facebook page, your Facebook profile, which is the personal side of Facebook, the Facebook page is the business side of Facebook. You mentioned that you have a personal profile, but it is very personal, and you don't want to use that for business purposes. So that's a perfect reason to start a business page, because you don't want to start really sending business posts to your very personal network, because they'll be disappointed. I mean, truly, if you are very personal and now you're sharing business posts, those people are going to hide you in a New York minute. And they won't be seeing any of your business posts anymore, right? So you want to have a business page so that now you have a platform where you can be pseudo-personal, you can talk about your business, you can give, but even when you give, it's about your business world, right? So that's your voice. So I absolutely recommend that you would take your business voice over to the Facebook page side. And then how to get people from your personal side over your business page side. You can do it by email, you can do it on your business card, you can do it in face-to-face conversations, and you can occasionally share to your personal network that you have a business page. I recommend usually about twice a month. You just let your personal friends know, hey, by the way, if you do appreciate what I do professionally, I'm now speaking about it over on the business side of Facebook. And I encourage you to like that page and come over there, because I don't want to create noise here on the personal side. That would irritate you. And I know that some of you actually like me as a business person, so please come on over there and like my business page. Okay? That's how I do that tactfully. Alrighty. Well, I think that process was probably pretty thorough then. You didn't have questions. Right? So here are ways to get in touch with me, if you'd like to get in touch with me through social media. All these links are also on my website. So if you wanted to just write down the one that really makes sense, it's buildandbalance.com. Buildandbalance.com is where I reside professionally on the internet. Through there you can link with me socially. You can sign up for my newsletter, which is an educational newsletter. It comes out usually once a month on the Constant Contact platform. And then I do have some events coming up, such as Power of Email Marketing and Social Media Marketing Made Simple. And these are free presentations that I will be giving on behalf of Constant Contact on the Peninsula in the weeks ahead. And the dates and times are available on my website on the events calendar. Okay, so with that, I thank you very much for attending the event today.
Thank you.